Hello again, everyone. This time I want to show you how and why you might want to use Zellij and the Kitty terminal with Helix. So if you launch Helix, you just have one window here, right? You have just one terminal window. And if you want to do something here, but then go back to the terminal window, you basically have to press Control Z to stop that task. Do whatever you want to do here, like, ping something, I don't know, run a command, and then you can press FG here to go back to your window. But of course, this is kind of bad, right? This is a hassle. So how do you get another terminal next to your terminal without actually opening another terminal window, Because also that's also kind of annoying here. So there's a few solutions for this problem. Of course, if you just want to see two files at the same time, what you can do is just split the view here in Helix. But if you want to have a terminal window here, then you can use other tools for this, right? There's lots of tools for this. And one of these tools is Zellij. So I have Zellij installed here, and if I run it, there we go. Let me just maximize this here. So yeah, this is just a tip that Zellij does at the beginning. I will just press Control C to not show this on startup anymore. And this is what Zellij basically is. It is a self-described terminal workspace. And what it lets you do is, for example, do this. You can have different panes. So let me just make the font a little bit smaller here so we can see everything. And now if I press Alt-N, I can just get a new terminal here. And now I can switch with Alt-H, JKL between these different terminals here. So this is pretty cool. So now I could run Helix here, and I don't know, I could run, I don't know, Pac-Man here or something, and I could run HStop here, And now I can run all this stuff at the same time. Let me just close this here. And what you can also do is you can have different tabs here. For example, I just did this with Alt-N, and this is one of the modifier keys that Zellij uses by default. But the main one is actually Control G. So if I press, Control and then the key that you want. For example, if I press Control T and then N, I will get a new tab here. And now I can use Alt and H and L to switch between these and the tabs and the panes. So pretty useful. And you can also create more panes here if you want. You can even make these floating like this with Alt F. You can resize them with Alt and plus or minus. And you can close them. I often do this with just Control D to exit the shell, but you can also do it like this. So Control P for pane and then X for close. So this is pretty cool, right? You can have all these windows open. But another thing is also that you can have different sessions here. For example, right now on the top left there, you can see my session, which is called Rusty Cactus. I didn't choose that name, obviously. But I could press Control O here, and then I could type D to detach from the session. And now I could create another session here. So now I have this other session here, Gracious Aardvark, whatever that is. And now I could detach this session again with Control O and D. And now if I run Zellij ls, you can see I have a bunch of these sessions here. And now I can attach to the previous session, which was Rusty. You can just type Zellij and then A for attach, or you can also just write attach if you want to. And then I will just type my session here, my session name. And now, boom, I'm back into my old session here. So this is the basics of Zellij, basically. You can do a lot more stuff with this. You can have plugins, you can have all kinds of configurations. You can set this up as much as you want to. It's pretty cool. It's also written in Rust if you care about that, so that's also pretty cool. Oh, and one important thing you might want to know is that you can also change the modifiers. So the problem with using this with Helix, of course, is that if you depend on all of these modifier keys or on all of these key bindings that you use for Zellij, that might conflict with your Helix key bindings, right? So one problem, one solution for this is to change, to go here into the configuration, so Control O for session and then C for configure. And then you can press Tab to change mode behavior. And now we want to choose not the default, but the unlock first, the non-colliding modifier layout, so to speak. So that basically, if we do that, so we can press apply here. We can also press Control A to apply and save. But I will just apply this here. And now I can basically always just press Control G and then, for example, P and then N to get access to the controls in Zellij here. So this way it doesn't conflict with the programs you're running. So that's pretty cool. Oh, and one thing here I haven't mentioned yet, you can also have different layouts. So if you see in the top left there, if I press Alt and square brackets, I can actually change the layout here. So now I'm in the stack layout. And this is the horizontal layout. And now we're back to the vertical. So you can just create also custom layers, I think. So if you want to do that, you can do that. And by the way, Zellij is very modifiable, very configurable. So you can also just hide a lot of these UI elements. For example, you can do this, and now you don't have the borders anymore. You can also use a compact layout that hides the top bar, for example, if you think this is too busy. So yeah, Zellij is pretty cool. I would definitely recommend you guys to check it out. And so yeah, let me now go on to the next thing I want to talk about in this video. So let me just close all these windows here. So that's one solution to this problem, right? But you can also do it a different way. You can use a terminal that has splits and tabs built in. So right now I just opened Kitty, and Kitty I think is probably one of my favorite terminals. And the reason is that it has so many cool features. So it has all the stuff that you might need. Yeah, you know, you can configure it, you can change the colors and everything. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. You can even show images in it, I think, if you want to do that. I don't really use that. So the reason I like to use Kitty is because of this. You can have splits and tabs in Kitty built in. So I think this is pretty cool. So now I am in a tab here, as you can see down there, and down there. As you can see down there, I'm now in these different tabs here, and I can switch between them. And one thing I like about this is that I think the kind of pane, or if you want window management or terminal management in Kitty, in my opinion, is a little bit better than basically any other terminal that I've heard of, and also better than Zellij. And because a reason I think that is because I am a former tiling window manager user, and Kitty basically gives you that workflow if you want to, but within your terminal. So I can basically have my master and stack layout here. So I have the master here on the left, and I have the stack here on the right, and I can switch between them. And I, for example, if I run ls here, you can see I have this window here. Let me just run htop here. And let me close some of these windows here. And so now I can just easily switch between these. I can also move them really easily, like this. And yeah, this is just very fluid. It's more fluid than in other terminals and in other programs like Zellij. Often you just have splits and stuff, and you can have splits and tabs, but the splits are just very static. And in this, it's much more easily to move things around, you know? And I really like that. So that's pretty cool. But of course, Zellij has other advantages. For example, you can use Zellij on a server. Like if you are SSHing into a remote server, you can just use it there. That's a pretty good use case. And of course, you have more advanced session management than you can do in Kitty. So I'm not really sure what I prefer. Both programs have advantages. And of course, there are other programs, right? There are other terminals like Westterm and Ghosty. And in terms of Zellij alternatives, there's also, of course, Tmux and GNU Screen. But yeah, I like these two. I'm not sure what I prefer. I think both Kitty and Zellij have a similar use case for me, and both have advantages and disadvantages. So I'm not quite sure what I prefer. So yeah, that's all I want to show you in this video, guys. If you have any questions, just post them in the comments. See you in the next video. Bye.